Welcome back. Well, my son came home from work early this morning and found a padded envelope on the porch, which turned out to be the set of roll pin punches I ordered from Home Depot. It was $13.09 plus tax and shipping, but they're like nine different sizes of drift punches that's got a dimple, a round dimple machined into the end of each one, leaving a bit of a collar on there so it fits squarely in the end of those hollow pins called roll pins. They're steel, a piece of steel rolled into a pin, roll pin. You need those kind of punches to be able to knock these things out. The ones in the Crossman, the one in the Crossman 760D Pump Master was a 5/32, and I'll show you those here. And now I got the parts laid out on my little table there so you can see what all comes out of that pump tube assembly. When you get that pin out and you've already taken out the screw in the barrel band to get the barrel out, it's just pinned to the pumper tube. So I'll show you that, and then we'll go through. I've cleaned them up a little bit. They were filthy, especially the gas valve assembly. It's all brass. It's supposed to be better than aluminum. I don't know. It was filthy. Just black oil. I don't know if it's was graphited, some kind of graphited lubricant maybe, but I might use Molly lube on it. I've even got some 30-weight silicone oil. By the way, here's the Molly lube. You can get this at auto parts stores. I got it on Amazon through an auto parts supplier. It's this stuff's expensive. A pound of that can run like $70, $80. I think it's ridiculous. So I got this. Oh no, I can't see it. It's a 50-gram tube. Okay. And 30-weight silicone oil is also this. This is what they use in radio control cars inside the struts. They have struts and springs just like real cars, and this is the 30-weight silicone oil they put inside them things. I know because a buddy of mine at work used to race them things when they scale or something. But anywho, we talk about silicone lube 30-weight in certain places, like on the gas ram seals or bushings and stuff like that. This is what they mean. So I got me a bottle of that. That'll last forever. Drop at a time, you know. And that is, well, it's made in Spain. It says it's 150 milliliter. That's 6 ounces, 5-6 ounces maybe. So we'll also degrease, de-blue, and polish the metal gas tubes, and get those blued up. Because I gotta let, with the temperature I'm able to maintain in this room between night and day and cold and warm days in the winter here, it takes about 2.5, 3 days for the bluing to cure real good. You can watch it curing, and the next day after you blue and oil it, you wipe it down, you buff it lightly once. Maybe once a day or so you buff it, and then it'll have absorbed all the oil, and bluing it cured, and you're just wiping off the excess. If it's black, that's okay. Once you blue it and oil it, it gets this sort of like, it almost looks like lamp black on the outside. So you wipe some of that off, and it mixes with the oil and evens out the tone, and so much the better. We'll get back to the 760 variant 1 Power Master too, which is fairly similar. I also need to finish taking that one apart. I got the seals and everything for that one. I don't have the seal kit for this one. I got to get a hold of precisionpellet.com. You can't order online. You can go online and get the number and everything, and you could call them, email, or whatever. You could do it that way. I'll call them on the phone with a credit card and get the 760D Pump Master seal kit. I'm assuming that'll be an upgrade. Although I will look around a little bit and see who's got the best kit for the best price and all that, and then I'll let you all know. Okay, this is what it looks like after I got that roll pin out. You see upper left there, and all the parts that go on the pump tube, including what you see here. The pin at the top goes through the tube, through that barrel band thing, and through the pump arm and out the other side. And that's a 5/32 punch I had to use, the roll pin punch. And you can get another look at the parts here. You can see where that pin goes through on the end of the arm on the left there. Piston is lower center. And here's the gas valve. It's all brass and in need of a polish, including the valve stem sticking out there where it goes through the bushing. You got to polish that. New seals, etc. And here's a couple looks at the pump tube. That's from the bottom, the pump arm slot on the right, and here it is, the pump arm slot on the left. I'm sorry. Part on the right goes inside. And here's a look inside the pump tube. That's blued inside and quite heavily. They must have used gel. Gel makes a denser coating, but it takes longer to work. And here's another shot of it after I cleaned it inside with lacquer thinner. I wiped it down outside after I did this. I just made plugs out of 1/4 of a piece of blue paper towel to clean it out. And here is another shot. There's a couple of rust spots in there where the bluing wore off, it looks like. Going to be hard to get to some of them. And that's what it looks like after it's been cleaned up inside and out. All the dirt that came out of it. It's like the oil had graphite in it, it looked like, from the late 90s. Medium lacquer thinner again. And here's what we need to do the blue and rust remover, and always wear gloves. These aren't chemical resistant gloves, but for the Birchwood Casey bluing chemicals, they're fine. And here I was trying to clean it off on the inside after I'd rinsed it and everything. If I had enough to soak it in, I could have soaked the rust off, like with small parts and stuff. You eat up a lot of fluid that way, though. And there's basically pushing it through with an old broken cleaning rod. Pushed that through a couple of times. The one on the left was the first one. The second one came out cleaner on the right. It looks a little better. See the holes and slots and stuff like that. And there's just a couple of rust spots I want to deal with where the bluing got chipped off, wore off, or something. Okay, here, I hope you can see this. I got used the de-bluing and rust remover, and then you can see it on this half. I used 400 grit emery paper. The wire wheels blew out most of its wires doing this half here. Wire wheel works really well for getting everything off all the way down to the pitting. These little pits. That's what it looks like. What the metal looks like when you get all the rust off. You get all these little pits here. Looks sort of charcoal colored. And let's turn it over. That's the slot that goes inside the receiver. This slot here is where the forearm stock that acts as your pump handle goes, and the piston, the valve goes back in here. There's a dimple on here somewhere that stops it. And the piston on those two arms slides back and forth in here. There's pitting around that. And this hole right here is where the roll pin is pressed in very, very firmly. The thing's in there really tight. I had to use a 5/32 roll pin punch and my little geologist hammer to knock that out. If you got a ball peen, that would work. I just couldn't find mine. And you can see here, that's the where the pitting and stuff, screw holes, whatnot. And then you come back over to this half, and that was with the wire wheel. I just cleaned it up a little bit with the 400 grit emery paper right there. A little shiny too. That's amazing. It get about a 600 grit shine on there with that wire wheel. It's just at 40 to 60,000 RPMs in that Dremel. The doggone thing just is flinging the little wires all over the place, including into your face. So wear safety glasses and a face shield. I need to get a face shield yet. Go to Harbor Freight up on the corner here. That took over the old Sears Tool Center and get some stuff like that. But yeah, look at that. That wire wheel does a wonderful job. It takes some of the lighter pitting out, as you can see. Up here, that's the part that was sticking out under the barrel. Right about that much of it. And you can, as you saw in some earlier pictures, videos and whatnot, that thing was rusty. Shot great. Carved a star in the bullseye at 10 yards with H&N sniper lights at 7.5 grain. And I talked to Mac, the guy at Mac 1 on the West Coast yesterday on the phone, and he's got a couple of weeks to go yet on the 10-week wait for the rest of the seals, like the piston seals and stuff. I think he's coming up with a new piston instead of that vinyl-y cupped one that presses into the end of the part that slides back and forth in here. Only it's not got a cylinder-shaped hole in the piston. It's got a cylinder-shaped hole in the plastic thing on the end of the arm that it goes in. It just presses in. So it's like a plastic dowel rod sort of thing on the bottom of this piston that's shaped like a funnel on the other side, which matches the shape of the gas valve assembly, as I showed you in the other little pictures in this video. Okay, and this is some of the stuff I ordered. It went out and bought at Walmart. I had to order that Perma Blue, and everything else came from Walmart for the gun and do the stripping on the stocks and all of that. Ordered the pellets, and this is, see, that's 400 grit there. I used 100 grit to take the rust off, and then some of half the pitting, and then 400 was the first of the finer sandpaper to polish up the pitting and everything. Not looking too bad already. Yeah, that's 600 there, I think. It's definitely getting a nice shine to it at that point. It's a lot of work to cut about a third of a sheet, and once you wore that out, you're done with that level. And that's what 600 grit emery paper looks like. This is, I think this one's 800. That's where you start getting a pretty even, a bit more even shine to it, and the big pits are getting ground down to where they're just small little lines and little dots and stuff like that. You're minimizing them.
You see by the shine you get in the seeing the flat camera flash in the metal there, it's getting shinier already. You're minimizing the pitting so that when you put the bluing on, you won't see it. And look at that, 800 grit shine. And here we go with 1000 grit. This is where you're starting to get serious. And you can see the difference there. The flash from the camera looks more like a little electronic flash going off. Ooh, look at that shine. You can see me, my reflection in that thing. But yeah, that's where you're starting to get a bit finer grade of polishing going. From you can see, especially here at this angle from the reflection, 1500 grit too. I like polishing the metal up before I glue it. It winds up looking better when the sunlight shines on the cured bluing. This is 2000 grit. Real high polish going on here. My gunsmiths don't go past 800. I go up to 2500. Don't fuck around. You're gonna do it right. 2000 does look good though. And here is 2500 grit. The final layer of polishing, as it were, level, whatever. That's just wiping it down with a paper towel real good. I'll wait until I'm actually ready to glue it before I use the cleaner degreaser, and then I'll glue it immediately thereafter. And I wear gloves from that point. Don't want the lanolin on your skin getting in there.
Okay, now we're going to use some lacquer thinner paper towels and these new brass brushes. I got a 3-pack out from Harbor Freight. Try to, I don't know if these are scratches or paint marks or what. Here, over there, looks like paint marks. And there's one right there, looks like some kind of white paint. So first, oh, come on. Take the butt plate off. It's taking a minute to get everything out. It's going to take a 3-corner file and some sanding and stuff to fix all the gouging on that butt plate. That shouldn't use a plastic butt plate, leastwise not. I don't think I can get that either. It's not. It's put in, but the screws are so messed up and so bitter tight. I got a full-size screwdriver here, and it really won't move. I can't. I'm just gonna have to make do. I can't get that off. I really can't. I do need to pop that dang thing open. You can use a screwdriver to open the lacquer thinner can. To pour it in here, the hole in that thing is too small to stick that brush in. Just hope it doesn't melt. This heavier plastic. Okay, the only bad thing is it takes the shine off the plastic wherever it touches it. So I might just forego using the brush there and just cut me a little pad to see if I can scrub smaller spots with it that way. Not quite bad, right? It's bad right there if you can wipe it off real fast. I'm not terribly worried about losing the finish, the shine on there, because I'm going to do a dark wash on there to fill in all these little indentations, molded indentations that are made to look like grain and checkering and all that, like they did on the 760 variant 4 with the ABS stocks. It's got a black overwash in there to darken all the little grain details and the checkering, the base of the checkering and everything, so it stands out more and looks a little more real, like it's been handled for years and it's got finger dirt in there, and darken the varnish and from the lanolin on your hands and all that biological stuff. So the first thing we had to do that's got something on there, the black streak won't come off. And then once we get the black wash on there, and to wipe over it with a damp towel, we'll hit it with some True Oil and let that cure, and it'll make it shiny again and look a little bit more realistic, like the ABS stocks on the variant 4, just darker. And this is styrene. And there's the arm that swings with the piston in the pump tube. Really made a mess though. But that does seem to clean that paint off. So at least we can I can't get those screws out to save my life. That would be nice. There's a little bit of paint right there. I was thinking it'd be nice to take this thing off and put a white cap in there to show it off a little bit more, but I can't. I've just about destroyed the slots in them screws and they absolutely won't move. I honestly don't know why that won't move. It just won't. Oh great, now the little pad's coming apart. And I'm not going to, when I do that overwash, the black wash to fill this in, I'm not going to be able to use that to wipe it down with. I want to get something water-based. Something water-based that once it dries or in other words cures, I won't be able to wipe it off again when I put the True Oil over it. Just a lot of dirt and stuff in there. I have to use a 3-corner file to see if I can use that to clean straighten these grooves up and sand this a little smoother and everything. Then the true oil will shine it up real nice and make it look good. These screws here, it looks like that's molded in. It's like it's not actually made to come out. That might be glued on or something. That they honestly don't look like they're made to be removed. I don't know. Work with what you got.
Okay, and here's where we sanded the butt plate there. It's some 400 grit emery paper, try to smooth it out a little bit. Also try to use that 3-corner file and a brush to clean up the little grooves there. I did a 3-corner file about half that size to do a better job of that. And there's that pretty polished pumper tube with the stuff I need to basically degrease it before we can proceed to bluing. Been using cotton balls for both the degreasing and the bluing. But anyway, here it is, leaning against the heater after I degreased it and rinsed it. Dry it off with a paper towel, let it sit there, kind of warm up a little bit and dry out a little more. And here's the stuff I need for bluing it. I used the cotton ball and a ramrod to clean out the inside of the tube from the degreaser and everything. And I ain't got too much perma blue left on that little bottle, so we'll also be moving to the giant economy size there at a 1 quart. And that cup showed how much I use. I don't use very much, maybe 3/8 of an inch on the bottom. That's after the first coat right there, after it's been rinsed and dried. And the bucket on the right with the red handle is the clean water for the cup for pouring it over the parts into the one with the blue handle. That's the rinse bucket. Got to be kept separate. You cannot contaminate the two. And here's after coat 8. The last 3 coats were poured on, rinsed, and then patted dry and let sit to dry after I'd hosed it with the rem oil. Looking pretty good. That's after I got it set to the side over here.
Okay, well, it doesn't look so difficult and mysterious when you see it broken down, does it? We will have to wait a couple weeks for Mac 1 to finish getting the bits and pieces he needs to finish putting together the seal kits for the manual cocking 760s, like this one. I also need to, I can't use lacquer or lacquer thinner on that plastic stock. It melts the surface. Need something a little lighter. Some kind of Indian ink or something that's water based. I'll have to look around so I can brush that on. Have something dampened with the proper thinner to wipe off the excess off the surface, so that once it gets done, the deeper parts, i.e. the grain and the bottom base of the checkering and all that, that'll stay. The part on the upper surface will wipe off, and then just let that dry and then clear coat it with some true oil. Give that a day or two. It'll have a nice shine to it like new again, and it'll have more depth. Besides, we got the gas tube over there hosed down with rem oil after 8 coats. And we'll just have to let that sit for 2.5 to 3 days until it gets cured real good. It's a little cool in here. Middle of the afternoon it's warm, but the other time it's kind of cool to warm enough. So, got to go through a couple of those cycles. And for the moment we will go back to modifying the Hatsan Model 95 stock to fit the my Striker 1000X back there. I have to strip it first. I find I got everything I need to do that, and scrub the old finish off, and you got to rinse it. You got to rinse it down with water and then you gotta hang it up to dry. So I'll hang it. I got some hangers made up I use for when I'm doing stocks. I'll hang from my walker, but I like sit it over here at the heater here, blowing that way to help it dry out, rather, and we'll sand that down smooth and all of that, and to where we can cut the forks shorter and shorten it and do whatever inletting we have to do. I got a little surprise with that stock too once I get it to fit the Striker 1000. And then we will also strip and restain the beechwood stock the Striker 1000X comes with. And I've got some medium walnut Dutch oil to rub that with. It's got a penetrating oil in it you need for beechwood, which is so hard. That's why they use spray stains on some of these hardwoods, beechwood being one of them. So we can get a nice finish on it to where it looks like the lighter, lower grade of Turkish walnut they use for the hot sands. I gotta try to find it again, but somebody showed a picture on my homepage on Facebook with what the different grades of Turkish walnut look like. High grade Turkish walnut looks like Western red cedar to me. I'll get my hand on some of that. Darker grain figuring, and the reddish part is beautiful. It's got that yellowish blonde colored wood on the outside of that. I like where the reddish part is basically the heartwood. I like to have both the lighter and darker wood in some stock lines for some of my rifles. That would be beautiful. So it looked like Western red cedar, but it'd be nice and hard because it's walnut. That would be ideal. And we will also get back to the 760 Power Master Variant 1. I got the seal kit for that one, so we'll get once I get the stock, the 95 stock hung up to dry, we'll start working on the 760 Variant 1. That might go a little quicker. And get that back together, because I still have to finish that old Winchester saddle gun style butt plate for that thing. That's all handmade. Takes a while to do. That's it for now. We'll get to all these guns in one way or another. So, good Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. We'll see you again.